So good morning everyone and welcome to lecture 16 of Grid and Cloud Computing. So in this lecture we'll discuss about the portals and science gateways. This portion will cover in today's class. So these portals or science gateways are nothing but the tools. So there are a lot of tools are coming under the gateways. So with respect to a particular application, you can use one of the tool, right? So the science gateways or portals enable interactive. It is giving interactive platform to the user. It also provides web-based science, education, and collaboration. For example, multiple people want to participate, okay, for a particular project. So they need to collaborate in a particular project, like in a BTech project also, 2-3 people are doing the same project. So such type of collaborations can be performed by the help of the science gateway or portals, right? So this gateway, okay, or the portals provide user-centric environment. This is not system-centric. This is user-centric environment for interacting with remote computational resources through user interface that are built with web technologies. Why it is required? Why this gateway is required or portal is required? So this gateway is providing you a platform in which you can access to the computational resources. For example, you are working for a particular project, let's say drug development, right? Drug development project you are working, right? For this drug development project, if you see drug development project, you require lot of computational resources, right? So these computational resources is not possible with a single computer system. Rather than you require some cloud service providers help in order to do some kind of processing, okay, for finding some sequence in the drug, for finding some medicines, okay, or finding some valuable patents, finding some diseases or something like that. So for this you require more computational power. So for which we are using these gateways, right? So this gateway is providing you a facility that you can access the remote computational resources, the computational resources which is present in various places that you can access through a user interface. You know about user interface. So these user interfaces are generally built using the web technologies, right? Any web technology, maybe any particular software we are using to design this user interface. So the gateway, if you see in overall sense, if you say this is having a lot of similarity with the websites. So you are very much familiar with websites. Now this gateway word may be a new word to you, but whatever the facilities available in the gateways, if you see, it is more or less related to the websites, right? So you can browse a particular thing, you can request, okay, particular resources, okay, based upon your requirement, and that particular provider can provide you that particular resources, right? So if you see, the gateway software categorization is of two types. One is called as turnkey solutions. One of the example we will see that is called as Hub Zero in today's class. Second one is called as the toolbox solutions, right? There is a specific toolbox. Okay, like you can say it is similar to your open gateway computing environment project, right? So these two are the categorization of the gateway software. So if you are using these turnkey solutions, it is providing end-to-end solutions, one to end to another end solution for building the gateways. It also provides hosting the applications. Okay, if you want to host a particular applications, or if you want to make a host in a particular software, that can be done by the help of turnkey solutions. So the toolbox, second one is the toolbox solutions. Toolbox solutions solve a specific problem, maybe a DNA sequencing problem, it may be a drug development problem, it may be an earthquake problem, right? So these tools are designed to solve a specific problems integrated into a customized software stack. Remember this word, this is called as customized one. Customized one means, suppose for example I told you in Amazon S3 also or in Amazon EC2, suppose you have subscribed the instances, let's say t2.micro instances, right? So t2 micro instances is having a particular specification. Let us say, for example, this is not the exact figure. For example, if t2 macro is giving 2 GB, let's say one virtual CPU, okay, one virtual CPU and some other things, right? So this is the basic things are provided by T2 Macro. But you cannot customize this thing because T2 Micro is already defined. While you are creating your bucket, T2 Micro is already defined. Whenever you create bucket, the free version will give you, let's say, T2 Micro instances. Suppose you require 3 GB. Instead of 2 GB, you require 3 GB. Which requires what? Which require customization, right? Customizations you can do, you can edit, right? But such facilities will not be available if you go for a particular instances like T2 mini instances, micro instances, large instances. It is not possible, right? So this customization you can get through this toolbox solution. That is one of the advantages. Apart from these two, another project is also there that is called a simple grid project. It is also another toolkit for the portals and science gateways. So this in order to design a particular gateway, okay, you have a several layers, right? The bottommost layer is called as the resource layer. The bottommost layer is the tier one. Tier one is called as your resource layer. So you know in any architecture, the bottom one is the hardware layer, right? So that bottom one, if you go for the resource layer, you will find a lot of clusters, okay, or the storage systems, right? They are connected in order to provide resources to the user applications, right? Whatever application you require from cloud, that will be provided by this resource layer. That's why it is saying resource layer include campus computing clusters, storage systems, okay. So you may require a storage like Amazon S3. You may require compute like Amazon EC2, right? So such resources are available in the tier one, and it will be provided to the user based upon the request, right? So national scale grid resources like TerraGrid is also there in the bottom layer. Open Science Grid, computational cloud resources, everything will be there in the bottom layer. So if you see in the bottom layer, you will find set of servers, set of workstations, set of interconnection network, a set of storage devices. Okay, these things will be there in the bottom layer. On top of the bottom layer, you have the second layer, that is the second tier, which we call as a middleware. So I told you, middleware is always used to reduce the complexity of the infrastructure. Okay, if you want to hide something, you will use a middleware. So this middleware interact with the resources because your resources is there in the bottom stage. On top of the resource stage, you have middleware. So this middleware interact with the resources, whatever available in the resource layer. So some of the popular middleware in grid as well as cloud is called as Globus. Is a middleware, popular middleware. What it is doing? It is executing the job. What do you mean by job? Each and every user application is treated as a job, okay, or it can be treated as a workflows, right? So these users request will reach to the middleware will start executing the user application by assigning a proper resources of the resource layer, right? It also do the remote file management, okay, it monitors the file, it manages the files which is available remotely. Second example you can say that is called as Conda, right? This Conda is providing the job scheduling mechanism. Job scheduling mechanism says that if multiple users are accessing to the system, whose job need to be executed first. For example, I decide the second user's jobs need to be first, then the first user, then the third user, right? I am maintaining a particular queue in order to execute the jobs, right? That can be done by this Conda middleware. Third one is called as iRods. Okay, it is providing data and metadata. I told you data which is there in a particular file. Metadata is the properties of the file, right? This data and metadata movement and management, movement from one resources to another resource is managed by a one middleware that is called as iRods, right? So this is the second layer. Coming back to the third layer is called as the gateway software layer, which consists of the service components, right? These service components that manage the execution of scientific applications. Scientific applications means one of the live applications you are seeing day to day, that is called as weather forecasting, right? You are able to know the temperature of a particular place, that is done by weather forecasting project. So it is treated as a scientific applications. you want to find some valuable pattern in a DNA computing, right? DNA sequence, right? So that is treated as a scientific applications, right? Like there are a lot of applications are there. You may explore one of thing in that also. I'll tell you in one of the lab class. There is a platform I already discussed to you that is called BOINC platform. That is called as Berkeley Open Infrastructure for Network Computing. So this platform is given by University of Berkeley, US, right? So in this platform, if you see, a lot of scientific applications are available in this particular platform. And these platforms do not own a single resources. They don't have any single resources. So how they are computing? They are but they are allowing other users, okay, like us, to participate into these applications. So whenever your computer system is idle, they are using your own computation, your resources for their applications, right? Like that, if you see this execution of the scientific applications and data on tier 1 resources through the tier 2 interfaces, right? So tier 3 cannot directly communicate with the tier 1, right? Tier 3 cannot communicate with tier 1. So it has to go through tier 2, right? Tier 2, which is middleware, right? So what it will do, this gateway, this tier 3, okay, which is having a service component that manages the execution of the scientific application data on tier 1 resources. It want to access the tier 1 resources by the help of tier 2 interfaces, right? By using these tier 2 interfaces, it can access the resource layer, right? Apart from that, what it can do the execution management, okay, for both data and science applications. Okay, it can invoke, okay, it can do initial invocation, it can monitor the execution of any application, whether if you have submitted a particular application, then whether that application is executing successfully or not, when it is likely to complete, okay, how many resources it has required to execute, everything will be monitored by this layer, that is monitoring. It also provided one of the thing what we discussed in the last class, that is fault tolerance. Irrespective of the fault, whether it is a permanent fault or tangent fault or intermittent fault, it will say that irrespective of the fault, it will not decrease the performance of the system. The last one is it is also providing task coupling as a workflows. So you can merge two tasks, you can split two tasks, or you can arrange the task in such a manner that it is executing in executed in the resources. So generally what happens, these workflows, if you see, they are just like a directed acyclic graph. So whenever you are executing, you have to see that which resources you have to assign to which task is assigned to which resources. For example, I am assigning, let's say, first task, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, and this is 5. So what I am doing, I am assigning 1 to resource 1, right? Once it is completed, I am assigning resource 3 to the resource, task 3 to resource 1, and task 2 to another resource, let's say R2, right? Then once 2, 3 is completed, I am deciding 5 I have to complete in resource 1, 4 I have to complete in the resource 2. So that you have to decide. So each and every individual node can be considered as a task, right? So apart from this execution management, it also provided user and group management, right? So you know, in a particular group like Facebook group, you have a lot of users, right? So it decides, okay, how many users can create a particular group so that they can do some collaborative work, okay, just like social networking like Facebook, Twitter, okay, many things are you are using nowadays, or WhatsApp also you are using groups. Such type of things also provided by this layer. It also provided the third party information services, okay, if it is required, like making transaction you require a third party, right? So such type of services are also provided by this gateway or software layer. The fourth layer, which is close to the user, okay, that is called as your user presentation layer, okay. It has this particular presentation layer is having a number of different tools. Many tools are there, right? So based upon the applications, you have to use the tools, right? Sometimes you can merge two tools also, right? So it is responsible, this layer is responsible for content management system, open social gadgets, or desktop applications. How you are browsing the computer system? Either by the help of your desktop, right? So by the help of these desktop applications, you can invoke a particular tool in order to process your work, right? So these applications, if you see, okay, these layers is organized like this. So this is the typical example. So if you see, this is a gateway component software stack for scientific applications. So any gateway you want to design, you have to follow these four things. One is the bottom one is the compute resources, that is tier one. Second one is called as your middleware layer, that is the resource middleware. Third one is your gateway software, and the fourth one is the presentation layer, which is close to user, whatever we discussed today, right? So let us see some of the example to understand it is more clearly. There are two examples of scientific gateways used for scientific research. One is called as GridChem. Okay, another is called as UltraScan. Right? We'll discuss these two scientific gateways in today's class. So, if, in order to use the two things, right, GridChem and UltraScan, right, we'll take three examples which illustrate the gateway concept. In which, if you see, this UltraScan is there here, and GridChem is also here, right. Apart from these two, also we'll discuss about nanohop.org, right. These three will see how they are different from each other, how many users can participate into these gateways, what kind of work these gateways provide, what kind of works you can do as a part of user, right? That everything we'll discuss through these three examples. Coming back to the first one. First one is called as computational chemistry grid, is also called as your GridChem, right? So if you go for this CCG, right? It is most heavily used scientific gateways. Out of all gateways, the three examples, if you see, this one is more popularly used. Okay, it uses the TeraGrid. So TeraGrid is the, but if you see inside CCG, TeraGrid is supporting the gateways, right? It also provides a grid-enabled desktop interface that enable users to set up. User can set up a thing, right? Set up or launch and manage computational chemistry simulation on the TeraGrid, right? Suppose you are interested in chemistry simulations. So these projects are not belongs to computer science. So these terms may be new to you, right? But try to understand what is the main purpose of this particular gateway. Suppose you want to host a computationally chemistry simulation, right? You know, in chemistry lab also you have studied a lot of simulation. The same thing you want to do by the help of CCG, right? What is the problem? First problem is data set, right? Any work you want to do, first work is your data set, where you will get the data sets, right? Another thing you may ask that whenever you are using a particular simulation, if there is some problems, okay, to whom you are going to ask the questions, right? Suppose you are facing some problem, like software installations also, if you are getting some problem, to whom you are going to ask, right? So these things can be solved by the help of these gateways, right? That's why it is saying user can set up, for example, I need a particular application of chemistry, right? So that application I can set up, I can launch, okay, I can manage that in the TeraGrid, because TeraGrid is there in the CCG, right? And these particular applications, okay, or gateways, okay, supported, the following application, these applications are supported by CCG. One is called as Gaussian application, another is called CHARMM applications, GMS application. Those who are interested, you can search these applications, but we will not go in details of this. So these applications are supported by CCC, okay. So why people are interested in CCG? Sometimes we require power, in order to execute our simulation, we require the power of a supercomputer or power of 1000 2000 computer systems, okay. So we can use this TeraGrid help, okay. You can take the help of the TeraGrid in order to execute your work. For example, you are working in a project like machine learning application, for which require a lot of computational resources or a lot of storage devices, storage resources. So you can take the help of this TeraGrid, or like in the other related environments, okay, other related things, so that you can run your machine learning applications. That's why it is saying these are computationally demanding parallel applications. You can execute multiple works parallelly that require supercomputer, right? So supercomputer power you can achieve by using these particular gateways. So if there is a community users, For example, you have groups, right? So it allows user to access resources to shared allocations. So that those users are present in a same group, they can use the resources collaboratively. So that is called is your shared allocation. Second, coming to the second gateway, that is called as Ultrascan Biophysics Gateway. First one is belongs to chemistry. Second one is belongs to biophysics, right? This is also developed a TeraGrid science gateway for high resolution analysis and modeling. Okay, if you want to model a particular thing, like corona time also people are doing lot of analysis and lot of modeling in order to design in order to find a particular sequence so that vaccine can be designed or medicine can be designed, right? So what these science gateways are doing, they are doing high resolution analysis. So these pictures, if you see whatever images they are using or what kind of things they are using, that is having high resolution, right? So they are using some picture of the molecules, right? If you see, they are having high resolutions. Like you are capturing a satellite image, so you have to ensure that the satellite image is having high resolution. Otherwise, the analysis is very difficult. So while you are taking picture, also you know that the picture don't have any clarity. But whenever you are going for satellite communication, okay, satellite pictures, so you have to ensure that whatever cameras you are using, that is capturing high resolution analysis and modeling. So here what we are doing, we are modeling the hydrodynamic data from an analytical ultracentrifuge that we call as AUC, right? So this ultrascan biophysics is used for solution-based study of biological macromolecules. Okay, they are studying the biological macromolecules and synthetic polymers by biochemists, biophysicists, material scientists for fitting experimental data to finite element solution for flow equations, right? So they are using some equations in this particular project, right? So that they can find some valuable things, okay? The reason of using this particular gateway is that there is a scarcity of resources. If they use this gateway, the resource shortage will not be there, okay? So if you see in this gateway, 700 plus biochemists, biophysics and biologists and material scientists worldwide rely on this ultrascan software. So they are collaboratively doing, okay, they are collaboratively using this ultrascan software and they are doing their work. Some of the software assisted, why they are using, so like understanding an array of disease process, for example, cancer analysis or HIV/AIDS analysis or diabetes or Huntington diseases or aging effect. Okay, so these can be done by the help of this ultrascan gateway, right? So these projects are generally belongs to our grid computing, if you see, and most of the projects are voluntary, right? Means whatever resources they are using, they don't own these resources, right? These resources are not owned by a single person. Rather than in all over the world, those people who are interested to share their resources, they can share the resources so that some instances of that particular applications can be run in your local machine. So if you see this particular group, okay, published 250 research papers, 250 plus peer reviewed publications and 23 non-publications by 2009. So you can do any experimental analysis, like I told you, you can collect the data of cancer patients, you can collect the data of HIV/AIDS patient or diabetes patient or aging or Huntington disease or like that. You can collect the data and these data can be processed, right? So this core experimental analysis software is available. Okay, this ultrascan software is available. By using this software, you can do the high resolution analysis. So it also uses the tier 3, whatever we discussed, that is called your job management services. Okay, this job management services also reduces your complexity and provide fault tolerance, right? So if any particular resource is failed, so it will also migrate the works from one resources to another resources so that the fault can be mitigated. It obviously, as I discussed already, that it also uses TeraGrid for computing power. So TeraGrid is going to provide the computational power. So whenever you want to run a particular application where massive amount of resources are required, you can take help of TeraGrid. So these gateways such as Ultrascan also provides an example where code optimization and efficient use of computation resources are done by experts. So in compiler design, you have studied code optimization, right? Code optimization, what you do? whatever code generated, that may be optimized. For example, somebody is writing C is equal to, let's say, C is equal to A plus B, right? Right. So next case, suppose I am writing something like, let's say, C minus B is equal to D, right? So you know that these two codes are dependent on each other. Until unless you find the value of C, you cannot execute the second statement. But one person can say that why not we'll replace this C with A plus B, okay, and this is minus B. So the value is same as A, right? So I will write it directly, write D is equal to A, so that the code is optimized, number of calculations are also optimized, and both statements are independent of each other, right? That's why this code optimizations and efficient use of resources is not a part of your, not taken care by the software, but it is done by the experts, right? This ultrascan gateway also provides optimal solutions for one of the mathematical problem. The mathematical problem is called as non-negative least square problem. So it is a very popular problem in mathematics. So that problem can be solved. Okay, you can find the optimal solutions. Okay, by the help of this ultrascan software. So this problem says that if you see this particular problem, a matrix A is given. You know there is a matrix is nothing but a rows and columns order you are arranging. Okay, matrix A, and a column vector of response variable y, right? The goal is to find ARG minimum x of x minus y, okay, subjected to x is greater than 0. So x should be a non-negative number. Non-negative number you have to find. So this is nothing but your Euclidean norm. You have studied in mathematics. Anything you are writing, okay, within this double bar and base 2 is called your Euclidean norm, right? So this problem is solved using this ultrasound software. So in order to solve this problem, okay, so mathematically it is much more complex. So you require more computational resources. The number of computational resources required is more. So what you can do, you can take help of ultrasound, right, which uses your TeraGrid. Similarly, as we discussed, analytical central ultra central fields, right? This software you are using for HIV/AIDS and diabetes and cancer in order to analyze the data. So in this case, also the biophysics, okay, used in the biophysics, this AUC to characterize the macromolecule and determine the molecular weight and shape, right? So in this case also, the number of computational resources requirement is very high, because the newer AUC instruments equipped with multi-wavelength detector. So this AUC instrument is equipped with one detector that is called as a multi-wavelength detector, okay, which increases the data size in 3 order of magnitude, right? The data size is increased because of this particular detector, right? So analyzing this multi-wavelength detector require more computational power. So this more computational power can be provided by UltraScan. So UltraScan Gateway provides these requirements for end users by providing both procedures and capabilities to execute them in a supercomputer resources. You require, you collect more computer systems like cluster computing, you are combining more computer systems, or in grid also you are collecting the heterogeneous computer systems, or you can run these things in the supercomputer, so that you will you will do the analysis in a minimum time. The last example we'll discuss, that is called as nanohub.org. Okay, it is operated by National Science Foundation, NSF, funded. Okay, it is funded by NSF, Network for Computational Nanotechnology. This project is focusing on the nanotechnology. First one, whatever we discussed, that is called CCG, is based upon your, the CCG is based upon your the science gateway, right? If you see, this is a computational chemistry project, right? Second one, ultrascan, is based upon your this biophysics people are using, right? There is a biological project. The third one is nothing but our nanotechnology project. Okay, it also this nano hub.org is used by US people, so that in all over the world the national nanotechnology initiative can be taken. Okay, so initially this nanohub.org was developed in the Purdue University, one of the very popular university for computer science also, Purdue University. So initially there are 1,000 users are there. They are mostly belongs to the Purdue University, but after that they found that 2,90,000 plus visitors per year, okay, from 172 countries, okay, are participating, okay, the nanohub.org. If you see a particular time duration like August 2009 to July 2010, so in a year span, 8,600 users assessed more than 170 nanotechnology simulation tools and launched 3,40,000 simulation runs. So this is a particular hub, like you are familiar with GitHub, right? So in GitHub, what you are doing, you are pasting your code, right? Or many tools are available in the GitHub, right? So similarly, this is a hub where people can deploy, or if you develop a particular simulation tool that is related to nanotechnology, you can share your tools, right? So that the other people can run the various simulation on it. So nanohub.org services is completely free to the user. Anybody can use this one, subjected to some public license, okay? And each and every resources which is there in the nanohub.org is having a title, who is the author of that particular tool, or the resources, an abstract of the resources, and how many citations, how many people have referred that particular tools. Everything is maintained in the nanohub.org. So now we'll take a poll, then we'll discuss further. So please answer the first poll. Which one is tier 1? You have 30 seconds. Which one is tier 1? Resource layer, middleware, gateway software layer, or presentation layer? You have last 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. So which one is the correct answer?
Resource layers.
Resource layer, right. So in addition to these three, right? These three, whatever we discussed, right? Which uses in the base, they are using TerraGrid, right? So if you see, there is a Hub0 platform also. I told you in the very first class of service-oriented architecture. In this unit, we will discuss about Hub0 platform. So this Hub0 platform, okay, is nothing but the scientific collaboration. For example, the people who are working in US and the people who are working in UK, people who are working in India, they can collaborate this platform in order to do a particular work. Okay, so this Hub0 is a open source software platform developed by our Purdue University. Okay, by using this platform, you can create your website or hubs. Like GitHubs, you are doing, or Geeks for Geeks also, you can create a particular page and you can put your contents, right? So these things also can be done by this Hub0, done at Hub0, right? You can create websites and hubs for scientific collaborations, research and education. Like whenever you have a doubt, you are posting somewhere, let's say Quora. Quora is also a particular platform where people are posting the questions like which NIT is better, which IIT is better. So that is a platform where people can work, right? Or people can ask the questions, or some other people can comment on that particular question so that they will get valuable answers, right? So like youtube.com, you are familiar with youtube.com. So this Hub0 allow people to upload content and publish to a wide audience. You can upload small videos, or you can publish that videos, but that is related to scientific collaboration, not any general video. Like Google Groups is used to share document. Okay, it is a private space. Those people who are participating in that group, they can share document, they can send messages one another. So that facility is also available in Hub0, right? Next one is Ask Bhile on Amazon.com. Okay, here what people are doing, people are asking questions, or other people, those who known the answer of that particular question, they are posting their responses. That can also be done by Hub0. Like SourceForge.net, right? If you are using Hub0, you can, like SourceForge, what you can do, you can simulate your program, right? Collaboratively. Suppose you are developing a particular module, I am developing another module. So both of us can collaborate in sourceforce.net and we can do a particular programming, okay, or we can do a particular simulation, and we can share with the community. Once a code is successfully developed, that code can be shared to the community so that anybody require that code, they can take help of this particular tools, right? So the entire thing, whatever you given by YouTube, Google Groups, and Amazon.com and SourceForce.net is combinedly given in the Hub0. That is the advantages you will get if you are using Hub0 platform. So this Hub0 platform, the main purpose is to provide the transparency in the user. Okay, everything whatever there, that is completely transparent to the user. Users can use the friendly graphical user interfaces in order to do the works, right? So many GUIs are built using Hub0's Rapture toolkit, right? So when to use Rapture toolkit, I will tell you. Okay, Hub0 also provides Rapture toolkit. So whenever the GUI is not there, for example, you don't have any GUI, okay, graphical user interface, then you can take the help of the Rapture toolkit in order to build the graphical user interface. So this particular toolkit, if you see, which lets the researcher compare the simulation results. Suppose you have developed one algorithm. Earlier there are 5-6 algorithms are there. You want to compare your results with other results. So that can be done by this particular Hub0 Rapture toolkit. Okay, so you can do multiple runs. For example, if you want to run a particular work, so you are running 5 times and you are taking the average one. Okay, that is called as multiple run, because one time you may get different result, but if you are executing 5 or 10 times or 20 times and aggregating the result, that will be less prone to error, right? And ask what if questions. You can pose some questions also, right? So if you see this one, there are 3 examples of the Hub0 platform. One is called as globalhub.org. This globalhub.org is having 29,000 active users and online, okay, since December 2007. Now the numbers may be increased to a higher number, but this is the old statistics. It also supports engineering education on a global scale, so that the students, engineering students like you, if you want to work as a group, right, in a particular engineering project, so you can take the help of this globalhub.org, okay, in order to solve a particular problem or in order to deal with a particular project. The second one is called as your ccehub.org. It is available from June 2008, okay, where 2,400 active users are online. It is dealing with the cancer care. So the cancer patients data, okay, they are blood samples, or you can extract the proteomic or metabolic data, and you can mine the data. You can process this data to find some patterns, okay, or you can find, you can model something in order to in order to suggest some kind of cancer treatments that can be done by this particular ccehub.org platform. The next one is called nees.org platform, in which 15,000 users are online. Okay, from since your August 2010, it is dealing with earthquake engineering simulations, right? So each and every, you see, in each and every platform or each and every gateway is meant for a particular work. It may be a cancer work, with respect to cancer. It may be with respect to the biologist work. It may be related to HIV/AIDS. It may be related to diabetes. It may be related to earthquake, right? So by collaborating with others, then only you can find a solution. That is the overall purpose of going for these particular platforms. So catalog experiment data from 14 institutions that are simulating earthquake conditions in the lab. So 14 institutions are giving the using this experimental data, or they are collaborating with each other, and they are using the experimental data, okay, in order to know the various earthquake conditions. And they can also visualize and analyze the data. There may be a lot of graphical interfaces or graphical figures like bar chart, pie chart, okay, or you say can say spider chart. Some charts you can generate in order to analyze the data. So each Hub0 powered gateway is a website, right? This website is built with the widely used open source LAMP architecture. Those who are using Linux operating system, they may aware of this LAMP architecture. This LAMP architecture require a Linux operating system, Apache web server, and MySQL database and PHP web scripting, right? So this Hub0 uses the LAMP architecture, It also uses the Rapture toolkit, as I told you, to use the create graphical user interface. If GUI is there, then it is fine. If GUI is not there, then what you can do? You can take the Rapture toolkit to create the graphical user interfaces. So if you want to use this tool, there is a launch button in each and every tool, just like start button in maximum cases. Okay. So user can press this launch button, right? So by after user is pressing this launch button, middleware allocates a session container on tool execution host. Starts with X11 of Windows operating system. Earlier it was there, X11 Windows operating system. Start the tool and connect the session back to the virtual network computing. So once you launch a particular instances, right? Once you click this launch button, okay, when user press this particular button, the middleware's job is to start the operating system, okay, Windows system, or and start the tools and connect the user's web browser with a virtual network computing. So this virtual network computing will connect to the resources so that efficient resources can be provided to the user. So user thinks that this tool is running on the browser. Okay. Whenever you are using Zoom also, you are using the computer browser to do the work. Suppose I don't have I don't have I have not installed the Zoom. I am using the Zoom in browser, right? So in user perspective, this is treated as a browser, but actually it is running in the hub environment, right? So you can share the sessions like we are sharing a single session now. A lot of students and me are participating in a single session. So you can share your session. So if a user require user, you can close the browser also and read also, right? You can close it and you can rejoin also. That is also possible by the help of this particular tool. So this is the complete architecture. You can see this is called as a Hub Zero architecture. You can see here we are using a web browser, right? That web browser is visualizing a particular image, and here if you see, you can see a 3D view and you can model them. You can see the different views and you can zoom it, right? You can zoom the pictures to know a particular part. That's why it requires high resolution image and high resolution analysis also. Okay, and it is using the LAMP web browser, Apache web server, okay, and a middleware, right, database, right, and by the help of the virtual network computing, you are connecting with the visualization cluster or tool execution cluster in order to get the resources, right? So everything you see that in each and every case, I am repeating that TeraGrid is the backbone. TeraGrid is the backbone in these gateways or in these tools. So users can zoom in a graph, right? Rotate the molecule and probe the ISO surfaces in a 3D volume all interactively. So it is providing interactive platform so that you can do these things. You can zoom, you can rotate, you can probe, right? User can visualize the results without reserving time. You need not specify a particular time of the supercomputer, okay? Or you should not wait in a batch, okay, to get your results. You can visualize at any point of time. That's why it is saying it is without reserving the time on a supercomputer or waiting for a batch job to engage, right? You can visualize your result. And if you see each hub is uploaded unlimited number of tools by the community members. So if you have created one account in the hub, you can upload unlimited number of tools to that particular hub that can be used by multiple users. Suppose like GitHub, you are pasting your codes, right? So like that, this Hub Zero provides the supports to the community members so that they can upload as many as number possible number of tools. So user can see their files. You can see your files once you upload. You can see your files. You can process, but you cannot see the internal files of others. Other files you cannot see. Okay, if it is not in the public mode, you cannot see, and you cannot launch any kind of attack. Suppose you want to destroy something as a hacker, right? You cannot do, right? You cannot exceed the file quota. Like you may aware of the DC++. There is a software called DC++ that is used in the local area network, especially used by the people who are staying in the hostel, right? To share the resources, share the movies, share the softwares, share the videos, right? So what they are doing, if you want to participate in this DC++ software, what you are doing, you have to give 10 GB of 10. You have to share your 10 GB of videos, okay, or 10 GB files. Once you share your 10 GB files, then only you can extract the files from others. If you will not share 10 GB of file, then that quota will not be fulfilled. Then you cannot download or you cannot view the resources of others. So if a tool is already set up with GUI, then what you can do, you can run the Linux X11 Windows operating system, right? And it can be deployed in a matter of hours. Within hours, it can be executed, right? But if it is not there, if graphical user interface is not there in Hop 0 architecture, what you have to do, you have to use this Rapture toolkit, which is having various libraries of the popular programming languages like C, C++, Fortran, MATLAB, Java, Python, Perl, Ruby, right? So many languages are there for the graphical user interface. So if you see the operational features of Hop 0, so tools open up the new capabilities. So obviously tools provides a lot of capabilities, but it also at the same time produces a lot of challenges. Each and every tool having a lot of challenges, because whenever users using that particular tool, they may face different types of bug and error, and they wish to report such bugs and errors to the administrator or the supporting staff, so that the supporting staffs can be answered that one, so that they can resolve their problems, right? So what we are doing this in this particular hub, the hub's main philosophy is to not judge the quality of each resource. Suppose you are uploading a resource in the hub, right? Your job is not to judge whether that particular software will be helpful to others or not, right? You need not worry about that particular part. Simply you have to post, okay, in a particular hub. It is the responsibility of others to decide whether it is a useful one or not, right? So the community assess your quality, right? Whether it is a qualitative resource or not, that will be decided by community. So the registered users can give the ratings 1 to 5, like whenever you are purchasing a particular Flipkart product, okay, you are also giving rating in between 1 to 5. Similarly, other user can rate 1 to 5, okay. They can also cite your work in their academic literature, and the quality also can be assessed from 0 to 10 scale, so that they can say that whether this resource, whatever you have said, whether it is useful for them or not. They can also do the content tagging, like Facebook also. In Facebook, you are doing photo tagging, right? Once you are uploading your photo, you are tagging your friends, right? So you can also, whenever you are sharing something in the hub, that item is, you can give a set of text, just like hashtag also you are using, right? So if anybody is interested in that particular hashtag, they can search, so that they will get the details of the information, right? So it will make the resources finding very easy. So if you have problems with respect to the logins, okay, what you can do, there is a support link, like each and every website having a help link, right? You can go to the help link, you can create a particular ticket by filling a particular form. So it will reach to supporting hub, and supporting staff will try to answer your questions. And some questions you will not expect that all the question will be supported, all the question will be answered by the hub staff. So what will happen, this question will be posted in a blog or in the hub, so that if any registered user want to answer this question which is not there in the supporting staff, that can be answered. And those answers which is acceptable, or those answer is highly rated, that will be available first, and those answer which are lowly so by posting the answers, each and every user can earn points. So by getting these points, they can purchase various things, like they can purchase a T-shirt, they can recharge their mobiles, something like that, just as a part of reward to their efforts in solving a particular problem. Similarly, you can use the wiki and blogs, right? In the Wikipedia, also blogs also provides various things in by creating various pages, and these pages provides information. You can add comment into these pages. You can suggest various changes. Okay. For example, you have developed a particular page. You may decide that whether this page can be edited by other users or not. If it is allowed, okay, if it is the ownership is selected as the entire community, anyone can edit your page without your approval, okay. But if you have restricted your page, other has to take the permissions, or can comment comment, or can suggest you the changes. So once you approve it, it will be things will be decided by the help of metrics. Like when you visit a particular website, you know that below the website there is a counter. How many people visited this website? How many web hits are there? How many users are using a particular visited this website in the last 48 hours? Okay, how many simulation jobs are launched? Everything you can monitor. And is a few part of future directions. You can use the pharmahub.org. It is using the pill dissolution profile of the patient's digestive tract, so that you can do active ingredients in the patient bloodstream over the time. It also require a lot of computational power, which can be you can take help of the TeraGrid in order to get the resources. So the last part we'll discuss today, that is called OGAC project, that is called as Open Gateway Computing Environment. The main components of this OGAC platform is OGAC is having a gadget container, which is a Google tool for integrating the user interface component. It is also having a component like X registry, which is storing information about various online services and workflows. XBia is another platform where workflow composer and enactment engines are there, right? These are the component tools. GFAC is also providing the factory services, which is used to wrap command line driven science applications to make them robust and network accessible services. So OGAC is providing various components so that people can use their computing environments in order to execute the science and applications. It is also providing various events and notifications so that the user can see various notification in the and get the various services from OGAC platform. Okay, next class we will continue from here the OGAC, because already the time is over, right? So we'll stop here. Next class we'll continue the OGAC part.